All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the OTA's presentation of Hymn of Asia with our special speaker, Rich Kennedy. Look in the chat for a glossary and a second PDF handout on the Phoenix lectures that support today's event. Please hold all questions until the end of this presentation or type them in the chat to be addressed during Q&A. Thank you very much. If you've arrived and you don't see those files, Randy will be posting them on chat for you. Or if you would just like an email of the handouts for today, go ahead and email info@indiebridge.org and we'll get one to you. Today's speaker is Rich Kennedy. And I will share his bio right now. Rich first started studying Scientology in the early 1970s after returning from Vietnam. He went to Los Angeles a few years later as public and completed the academy levels and up through Old OT4. He joined the Sea Org in 1975 and served aboard the Apollo as the Director of Processing, which we abbreviate to D of P. He trained in this capacity under David Mayo and Brian Livingston, and he also met Trey Lotz at this time. Trained by and audited directly under LRH on the New Vitality Rundown in the fall of 1975, he resumed his D of P duties at the Flag Land Base in Clearwater, Florida, and served as D of P for the PCs and pre-OTs for the L rundowns. He was the first NED for OT's course supervisor around 1978, and he held various other posts for the next several years, including being a missionary, or excuse me, I mispronounced that, including missionaire directly for Mary Sue. Rich was RPF'd and eventually offloaded in early 1982. He was fortunate to attend college and graduate school and was then employed by the Centers for Disease Control for nearly 20 years before retiring in 2011. He stayed completely on the sidelines from 1982 until late last year when he decided it was time to formally reconnect. He has been a practicing Buddhist for 25 years. Would you please welcome Rich Kennedy, today's speaker, who has a wealth of information to share with us.
Yay, welcome, Rich.
Yay.
Rich, it's your floor.
Thank you very much, Barry. And I'm so glad to be here and talk on this wonderful subject. And nice to see a few familiar faces in the audience who I know. So let's go forward with the slides, Barry.
All right.
So the Hymn of Asia is an Eastern poem written by Ron and published on January 1st, 1974. The content is formally described as an Eastern poem. That page right there is the actual first page of the book, and this is the cover of the book right here. There's no writing on the book cover, just this one picture. The picture is referred to as a mandala. Specifically, this is the Maitreya mandala, which is the subject of Hymn of Asia. Now, a mandala is a visual representation of the prophecy of Maitreya. There's two spellings of Maitreya. Mitya is the Pali word for, and the Sanskrit word is Maitreya, and they refer to the coming Buddha or the future Buddha. This is some artwork representing the human form of the forthcoming Buddha Maitreya. Now, it, along with several dozen additional hand drawings, were produced by the LRH artist Andre Clavel during 1973 and placed in the book. And I was fortunate to know Andre when I was aboard the Apollo, and he was a great guy. He was French and spoke beautiful English as well, and he was a great guy. This presentation is the story of Hymn of Asia, covering a quarter century of the work of LRH. I will also provide some commentary on how I, a practicing Buddhist of 25 years, interprets the text, both as a Buddhist and as an indie Scientologist. Let's get into some background before we actually get into the text itself. We know that LRH wrote this poem in late 1954 or early 1955. Most likely while living in Camden, New Jersey, or perhaps in Phoenix, Arizona. And he wrote it coincidentally with the celebrations of the Sixth Buddhist Council in Yangon, Myanmar, which commemorated the 2500th anniversary of the Buddhist passage. The hymn is 1,046 lines, and it concerns the prophecy of the next Buddha called Maitreya. So let's word clear a couple of words that are important because I'll be using them over and over again. One is hymn and the other prophecy. And I'm giving a very basic definition here. Hymn is simply a song of praise or joy. And a prophecy is a prediction of something to come, usually attributed to a prophet. So before we get into the actual story itself, it's important to cover what LRH was doing when he was composing it and some key events that were happening in Dianetics and Scientology. I'll concentrate on this time period, 1954 and early 1955. So the opening years of the 1950s saw the rise of Dianetics and the formation of the Hubbard Dianetic Research Foundation in Elizabeth, New Jersey. Dianetics, Modern Science of Mental Health, was as popular as ever, with dozens of Dianetic groups springing up all across the US and some in Europe and Australia. The e-meter, which was called the electropsychometer, was patented in 1954. In early 1954, the first incorporation of the Church of Scientology in California, later they changed it to of California, but when Ron incorporated this in 1954, he chose the word in. And by late 1954, LRH formally announced Scientology as a religion. Now, most, if not all, Dianetic centers were no longer in existence. Also, this was the period where Ron and Mary Sue's second child, Quentin Hubbard, was born. And here's a photograph, which I obtained from my good friend Karen de la Carriere, of Quentin auditing. And this was taken in 1976 at the Flag Land Base. Quentin was a great guy. He was a very gentle soul, and it was a pleasure to have him as one of the auditors in the HGC, where I was the DOP. He was class 12, and but he could audit anything, any repair, any type of rundown, and he was more than willing to audit just about anyone. He was a really great guy, and a lot of us miss him even still today. Now, during 1954, LRH is continuing his research into theta. This is the theta mess theory, the thetan, and the operating thetan, or OT. and many processes to move the thetan up the tone scale. Also at this time, we see the publication of a number of LRH books, Scientology 880, Scientology 8008, and the creation of human ability. And of course, there was the Phoenix Lectures, Bring the Human Spirit. To many of us, this is one of our favorite lecture series, and it was delivered in July of 1954 in Phoenix, Arizona. This series of lectures provided the real first foundation overview of Scientology religion. It outlines its core axioms, the principles, its religious heritage, and the concepts for understanding human potential and spiritual freedom. Here's a little pictorial of the Phoenix Lectures that I copied off of eBay. You can still buy them. And they come in cassettes, and I think later on they were CDs. And the first three lectures were entitled Scientology, Its General Background, and covered the relationship between Scientology and Eastern religions, specifically Buddhism. I've copied the first three chapters from the LRH book, The Phoenix Lectures, and placed them into a PDF. You can find this file, plus the glossary of words used in today's presentation. They're located in the chat. Now, are there any other examples or evidence of LRH's intimate connection with Eastern religions and Eastern philosophies? Well, yes, there are. Here is the dust jacket for Scientology 08, and I believe this is the 1959 version I picked up here. And of course, there's Ron's picture and a quote from him. And you can't see it, but we're going to zoom in to the quote. Now, you can't see this very good either, but I've copied it. I circled them in red, and I've copied it to the bottom of the page. And it says, it's everything that has been known about you for 2,500 years at least. And of course, 2,500 years, we just recalled that was the anniversary of the Buddha's passing and the famous conference held in Myanmar. Many of you recognize the dust jacket of this. This is another late 50s publication, The Creation of Human Ability. And there are a number of passages in The Creation of Human Ability where Ron talks about the subjects that he consulted in the organization and development of Scientology. And these include the Veda, the Tao or Tao by Lao Tzu, the Dharma, and discourses of the Buddha himself, and the general knowingness about the life extant in the lamaseries of the Western Hills of China. So this is an actual quote, and there's several words in there that some of you probably know, but maybe others do not know, and they're in the glossary. Number two, in this book, there's a section, lectures 1 through 3 of the professional course, where Ron talks about Bodhi. And Bodhi is what we might call today, or what was called then in the mid-1950s, a clear. Now, the final passage, yes, go back one, please, Mary.
Okay.
Now, the final thing I want to point out is the sentence where he talks about life extant in the lamaseries of Western Hills of China. Now, a lamasery is basically a monastery, and it can be also for a nunnery, which is the female attendees. The lama, Lama, is the teacher or the head of the monastery. And finally, Tibet, also called the rooftop of the world, was a very remote country that was entirely Buddhist up until the late 1950s, when China and Mao Zedong invaded and brought it into or assimilated into Greater China. Next, please. A couple more citations in the lectures 1 through 3, professional course. Here's something where LRH explicitly says, the Buddha never claimed to be anything but a human being. And in section 4, the triangle of certainty and awareness, LRH makes specific mention to Zen Buddhism, sort of a different flavor of Buddhism that evolved mainly in Japan and areas around there a little bit later. So let's look at LRH's background a little bit more in detail. So let's see, in the late 1920s, LRH, along with his mother, made several, albeit brief, stops in Eastern China. And we don't know a lot about this particular period of LRH's life, but he and his mother were on their way to Guam, where his father was stationed as a diplomat. And he was already there in Guam. And then after he was established, he sent for his wife and his son, and both of them boarded a ocean-going vessel, and after several weeks, finally made it to Guam. So it should be clear, at least from my viewpoint, that LRH had a general understanding of the major Eastern religions and a foundation in the ancient Vedic hymns. Now, they're mostly Indian or Hindu, the teaching of the Buddha, which of course is Buddhism, and the Dharma. And this positions Scientology as the westernized version and the technical culmination of these religious traditions. Now, all this is just prior to the writing of Hymn of Asia in 1954 or early 1955. I mentioned Andre Clavel, the LRH artist, and Andre also did several dozen drawings actually in the book. And this is a pictorial symbol used throughout the book. And this is called the Dharma wheel. The Dharma is the Buddhist teachings. And this particular symbol is found in monasteries and nunneries, in practitioners' homes in the form of pictures or posters. And it really symbolizes the entirety of the technology, if you will, of the Buddhist teachings. So what are the major themes that LRH used in the writing of Hymn of Asia? Well, we have to maybe take a look and see, well, in relation to the prophecy, or maybe in relation to Scientology as we know it today. So let's look at the prophecy. The prophecy is the arrival of the future or next Buddha. The prophecy itself is thousands of years old. Remember, Buddha traveled and taught in northern India 2,500 years ago. So that's 2.5 centuries, or 2.5 millennia, I'm sorry, 2,500 years or 25 centuries. Now, the prophecy is basically that stated hope, here expressed in poetry and prose, that Buddha will continually appear here on earth at selective intervals to help guide sentient beings, or thetans, if you will, to find or achieve their total freedom. And I believe we have a formal definition of sentient being in the glossary.
Yes, we do.
Now, the prophecy doesn't say to free sentient beings. The prophecy says to help sentient beings attain freedom. So it's important to understand that Buddhas, past and present, and even future, are teachers. And LRH really picks up on this and uses it throughout the hymn. Now, the second key point about the prophecy is that LRH makes no claim whatsoever that he is Maitreya, the future Buddha. Let's see how he does this.
Am I Maitreya? If you see me dead, I will then live forever. I come to you in peace. I come to you as a teacher. I do not come as an officer of church or sect. I come to you as a man.
Thank you, Mary.
You're
Now,
welcome.
that was the opening. That was the opening page, the first page of Himavasia. And it's really a question, or it's really, think of it like LRH's premise. And then this is followed by a series of declarations or questions. So this theme or question is followed by a series of declarations. This theme is repeated at least 5 more times later in the hymn. Now, each of these declarations takes a slightly different angle, a slightly different slant on the argument. Let's see a few more lines of the opening pages.
I come to bring you all that Lord Buddha would have you know of life, earth, and man.
So we can think about that for a second, what LRH is saying. Next slide. So this is a piece of iconography. It's not really Buddhist. It's also found in several other Eastern religions, namely Jainism, Hinduism, have similar pieces of iconography. And this is a fire-spitting, wrathful deity. And the symbol is related to burning out the poisons of your negative karma. And if you're not familiar with these terms, they're in the glossary. Now, this is a painting of a modern painting. This is not out of the book, of a deity called Vajrapani. And this is a wrathful deity that is found in the school of Buddhism that I attend. And you'll notice there's a lot of different iconography in here, but one of the prominent issues is the flames. The flames that, yes, through practice, through auditing, through training, through ethical behavior, you can burn out your negative karma and become a better person. Now, most Eastern religions and philosophies teach that your past and your current actions of your body, of your speech, and your mind have a great deal to do with your present condition. So the accumulation of these actions, now both positive and negative, is your karma. So we have negative karma, which hold us back, and we have positive karma, which moves us forward. An example of positive karma is right here in present time, all of us meeting together, talking about spiritual freedom, talking about bettering ourselves, talking about a sane third dynamic. Next slide. Here's a few more lines.
I come to you with freedom. I come to you with science. I come to teach you. I come to help you.
Okay, this is interesting. The second stanza where he says, I come to you with science. And LRH was a scientist. He was an engineer, trained in engineering, and he used science all along, formulating his technologies of auditing, of admin, of ethics.
Then see me.
Mary?
Yes. Yep. Then see me, hear me, study the wisdom that I have to say, and you will be Bodhi.
Okay. Now, Bodhi is the awakened state. We saw that word a little earlier. It's in the glossary, but a short definition of it is the 1950s definition, or an analogy, I should say, to the 1950 definition of what clear was.
My
No,
apologies for
study,
mispronouncing that.
no problem.
Okay.
So you study the wisdom and you can do it. Here's another interesting piece of iconography. It's found on page 87. So when I was doing the presentation and drafting up the presentation, I had all my notes on my desk, and I had the HIMA-Age open, and I had on my computer screen, I had several different things. And on page 87, I saw this piece of artwork, and I thought, what is that? Because I had never seen anything like that in the studies that I've done of the Eastern religions, and certainly not in my school of Tibetan Buddhism. And I wasn't sure what it meant. So I put it in here, and maybe someone can comment on it. I say it's possibly the ARC triangle, and I'm not really sure what the little leaf-like objects are, but maybe we can discuss that at the end of the lecture. Next slide.
This is a road. This is a broad highway. This is an easily seen route, and only those obsessed to be different will stray. The easy path is the best path here.
Next slide.
The bridge to total freedom. Oh, sorry, that wasn't my line.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's totally okay. You can chime in on that.
Okay.
So here's another simple but poignant definition or declaration. I'm sorry.
I am but a teacher. I bring you word of lessons you have lost, and here will win again. And lessons new that were reserved for time until you were organized.
Okay. So this is why we need organizations. All right. LRH had foundations in the 50s and franchises, and there are lots of groups. And then when Scientology became more formalized, and we had advanced organizations, and we had St. Hills, and we had thriving franchises all over the world. So this is why we need organizations. Just like today we have Indie Bridge. Now, if you're interested in learning a little bit more about Maitreya, here's probably one of the best articles that I have found that I consulted when I did this presentation. And we have a link in the glossary. It's a PDF yes, a PDF. And it was written by, I believe, a member of the Theravada tradition who lives in Thailand. Now, the author of the commentary, I just mentioned that. So it should be noted that there are several other vehicles of Buddhism philosophy and practice, specifically Mahayana and Vajrayana, that are presented as an expanded view of self, other, the cosmos, and the path to enlightenment. So the paths or the vehicles of Buddhism, particularly, are like a bridge where the lower paths, like Theravada, oh, there's, life repair and ARC straight wire and the CCHs. And then you get into your grades with the Mahayana. You learn how to communicate and handle problems and things of that nature. And then you go up to the OT levels into the Vajrayana. So all three of these schools, or bridges, if you will, are found in modern Buddhism. All emphasize study and practice, and they're built on a foundation of ethics, correct behavior, and the commitment to the principle of do no harm. And this is from page 135, a very detailed piece of artwork. And again, this is the Wheel of Dharma. And that's the Sanskrit word, Dharma chakra. Chakra means circle or wheel in Sanskrit. So these are key teachings of the Buddha, the path to enlightenment. And usually this Dharma chakra is depicted as a wheel with 8 spokes. Each of the spokes represent the Noble Eightfold Path. It symbolizes the liberation from the cycle of rebirth. And I believe we have several references in the glossary on the Eightfold Path, so you can see what the 8 partitions of the path are. There are a number of passages where LRH uses the plural as he's referring to the 3D. In other words, LRH is going to use we. Let's look at a few of these and see if we, the audience, can recognize a common theme.
We can civilize the barbarian. We can make lawful the criminal. We can make sane the insane. We can ourselves be free.
Great. Now, this tells me that this is the third dynamic activity. And we need auditors, case supervisors, course supervisors, ethics persons, dissemination secretaries, you name it, we need it. It's all on the org board. So you have the posts of the org board. That's the we that I believe LRH is talking about.
We can make just the ruler. We can make merciful the strong. We can make well the sick. We can make intelligent the dull person. We can make social the unsocial.
Next slide. Buddhists from the past or from the present would certainly recognize these words as an enlightened view of the Dharma. Have we as Scientologists seen or heard these declarations in later LRH writings? Indeed. The Hymn of Asia is not just about the prophecy, but also about LRH's vision of how he sees the continuation of Asian philosophy and religion and how it really unfolds in the 20th century. In Scientology, we have the bridge to total freedom, life repair, the grades, and I mentioned this. This is a modern mandala. It's usually painted, or sometimes it's made with colored sand, fine grains of sand of many colors that are put on a giant table where monks spend up to 2 weeks diligently placing tiny grains of sand to produce this beautiful piece of artwork. This is an exemplification of iconography at its maximum impact of informational conversion, where there's hundreds, if not several hundred symbols buried in the story of this mandala. This is analogous to like a tech volume or to one of the PL volumes. Next slide, please. Okay, let's go for some closing passages.
We have a mission to perform. We must work to save ourselves and save all men. Thank you for being here. Thank you for having kept alive the flame of life on earth.
And finally,
I go. I am amongst you as a mortal man. I can appear to you in day or sleep. I love you.
so this is LRH. So why one may consider that the Hymn of Asia maybe is a natural parallel to LRH's mid-1950s research into the mind and the resolution of the human condition. And we can also consider the Hymn of Asia as a forecast of the rise of Scientology, its worldwide expansion, and the development of the technologies, the detailed technologies for auditing. You see it in the case supervisor series, all those rundowns, and for ethics, all the materials of Division 1, and for administration, the entire organization or one organization as covered by an organizational board or chart. For me personally, I found comfort in knowing that I can be both a Scientologist and a Buddhist, because one doesn't validate the other. They're complementary. All the technologies and all the philosophies, there's no piece that I found that really negates the other. Thank you for your time. Questions and comments?
Thank you, Rich. Thank you, Rich. Yes, we'll take comments and questions now. Randy, could you read something from the chat for me? Do we have any questions or comments?
Sure, I don't see any yet, but people, you can also raise your hand if you want to speak, and we'll call on you. Down there under React.
Well, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Does anybody happen to have a physical book that they could hold up. I thought for sure that I had one in my library, but I do not. And I remember seeing it. I think that I remember meeting the person that calligraphed it. And I'm an artist, so I found the artwork quite interesting. And I just wonder if anyone has one they could hold up.
Hey, Rich, do you have a physical copy of the book?
I do not.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
But
I
Lauren,
might
you
have
can
one,
just help
but
us.
Yeah,
it's probably downstairs, and I
Can
can't leave right now.
Can you flip through so I can just get a look at some of the pages and like the thickness of it? I'm trying to remember the book.
It's
yeah.
one.
Let me. Oh, this is Lauren. I've got a book here. I'm just
There's
trying to
one.
unfuzz my display a bit.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah, we
trying
see
to
it.
see.
We see you now. Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've got it.
when you move too fast to your camera, sometimes it gets freaked out.
Yeah, there's a setting in there that does something crazy. Turn that.
Hey,
If you're
Lauren.
blurring your background, it'll
Yeah,
blur
yeah.
I
whatever you're
guess I'm
holding
going
up.
to have
On,
to have a hunt for one.
There we go.
There.
So there's the front
There
of
it
the
is.
book. There's the
yeah,
front. And
good.
there's, you want to see the side, and
Yeah.
um, what else can I do for you? Send
Open up,
pictures.
flip a few pages. And
Let's see if I can. I can only see a little picture here myself. Let's see, we got starts there. I think we looked at that. And then the intro. Bunch of.
I think the name just came to me. I think it was Bruce Bishop that did the calligraphy. Does anybody remember that?
What's the question?
who did the
I think
calligraphy
I
in the
met
book?
the person who did the calligraphy for this book, and he actually taught me calligraphy way back. This is maybe in
That's
the
Andre Clavel.
1970s sometime.
It's Andre Clavel. He
Oh,
was He was a Sea Org member, and his official post was LRH artist. He did all the calligraphy in this book, plus calligraphy and drawings and many other texts that were published around this time period. I don't think he was in Scientology much after 1980, though.
Well, thank you for that. I'll hunt one down.
Thank you. Olga has a question. She's raised her hand.
Yeah, I just remember I was reading this hymn of Asia, like slightly like scanning, and I remember the prophecy was like they were expected the man from Europe, like European or something, and ginger hair. I was like, oh, so was it there, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Rich, I had a question. I was noticing that there are 8 paths. Would these or 8 partitions, would any of those possibly correspond to the 8 dynamics? Or is that simply another division of 8 somewhere in a different knowledge?
Thank you for that question, Mary. No, they're not related. The Noble Eightfold Path is not the 8 dynamics. And Buddhism, they are aware of the 8 dynamics. They don't call them the 8 dynamics. They sort of lump the cosmos as a dynamic, but they sort of lump dynamics 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 sort of together and refer to it as a special word. And then the physical universe, the 6th dynamic, a little bit separate. That's viewed as separate. And the 7th dynamic, they sort of incorporate that both in the cosmos, the 8th dynamic, and the lower dynamics.
Okay, thanks, Rich.
And Mary, I'm
Rick,
just requested to share a screen. I found a brief write-up on the Eightfold Path, which I can share with people.
Okay, I just approved that. So,
Good. I'll bring that up very shortly here.
okay.
Here comes the Eightfold Path of Buddhism. You see that?
I do not. Does anybody else?
I
I
see
might
it.
have to stop sharing.
Somebody said yes.
I see it.
Ah, good. Okay.
I'll just read this aloud a little bit. The Eightfold Path in Buddhism is a fundamental guide to ethical living and spiritual development. It consists of the following 8 components. Number 1, right understanding. I'm not going to read all the parts about it, but just to summarize. Number 2, right,
That sounds like KSW, right understanding. Does
or a
that
little
and
bit like,
study tech?
yes,
Sorry.
it also
Okay.
could parallel the way to happiness when you look these things over too,
Hmm.
roughly. But basically, they're points of ethical conduct broken down into different types of things. Would you agree with that, Rich?
Yes, that's correct.
So those that's the
Conduct
8.
and it's conduct and study
Yes.
because and practice because number 7 is right mindfulness,
Hmm.
and that is a state of mind or having to do with the mind.
Yeah.
Uh,
And right concentration, number 8, also
yes.
practicing meditation to achieve a deep state of mental focus. Right. So that's the Eightfold Path. Okay.
Cool.
I have a
I
question.
have an idea for the triangle thing with the leaves. To me,
Yes.
they look more like eyes. Maybe they're eyes?
Okay.
Remember that one?
Remember that one, the triangle, which Rich thought might be leaves, but you think maybe those are eyes. Okay. It's a good theory. I don't think we're going to come to a definitive
No,
answer today
no,
on
it's
this,
too
but
vague for sure.
I
it's
have a
good to have
question.
some theories.
Yeah,
Go
I have a
ahead.
question. It's Susie.
Hi, Susie.
Yeah, hi. I just thought well, that was fantastic. I enjoyed it so much listening to the parallels between Scientology, and I've often wondered about that in reading, the first, what was it, '08 perhaps, that you were talking about, as when LRH was actually acknowledging all those sources that had influenced and inspired his research.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, do you meditate?
Oh, yes.
You do. Well, how do you, what could you, like, I've always, because to me, I've always thought a state of meditation was would be, this is not knowing anything about it, but it seemed to me that it was introverting, rather than an extroverting flow of theta or beingness into your environment. How do you find that meditation parallels anything that you could tell me or tell us that we do in Scientology? Like, is it TRs? Is it a state of being? Is it a state of release? Or is it a key out? Something like that. I'm just curious about. And also, my other question is after you answer that, I wanted to know what sources you have to study Buddhism because I'd be really interested in doing that.
Okay, thank you very much for that question, Susie. It's a very good question. There are many different types of meditation, and I mentioned there are different vehicles or different levels, and each level has a different type of meditation. Meditation can be as simple as focusing your attention on an external object, like this pair of scissors that I have right here, or you can focus your attention inward on your mind. So you're right, it does sound like a bit of introversion, but once you start to differentiate between focusing your attention inward on your mind and outward on the environment, it's no longer introverting when you look at your mind. You look at your mind to see what maybe state that you're in. If you have something that is in restimulation, like a an evil purpose or some intention to do harm. Well, if you have the ability to look inward, you can see that. Once you see it, you can know it. Once you know it, you can do something about it. So that's how I view that particular type of meditation. And of course, Susie, when you get up to the more advanced levels, the meditation becomes more not just focusing the mind, but using the mind in a creative sense, not unlike the processes that were developed in the early 50s that are found in the creation of human ability, the creative processes. And as far as the references, the second part of your question, if you email me, and my emails in the references, if you email me, I'll be happy to go over because I have a number of references that I think that you would be happy with, that you would find interesting.
Susie, you can also email us at info@indiebridge.org, and we won't have to state Rich's email address here in public. Is that okay?
Yeah, thank you. And I just had one more observation about what you just said, because it seems like a level of meditation is sort of parallel to blowing by inspection.
And in the advanced levels, it is.
Yeah.
And in the early levels,
Yeah.
in the early stages of meditation, you see the mind has its sort of its own nature, its own inertia. And if you just sit quietly and observe, you'll see your mind is continuing to formulate the future, to recall the past. It's very hard to quiet the mind where you don't have any particular thought stream that's banging on you, demanding your attention. So in the early stages of meditation, you start to get a control over this wandering mind, and you start to bring it under control. And then once it's under control, you can focus the awareness, the power of the mind, the rigpa of the mind, you can focus that into some specific practice that gives you spiritual freedom.
Right, right. It seems like the first level you said is almost like if you meditate on an object, it seems similar to running havingness.
Yeah, like CCHs.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. We have Ted who has raised his hand. Ted, if you would unmute yourself. Is Ted there? If you are there, we cannot hear you. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and go on to Nancy Branigan.
So, Susie, I just wanted to pipe up and say something here. You asked about things that we've done in our practice of Scientology that may be similar. I've recently started meditating, and I've found it to be extremely powerful and expansive, not introverting for me. I can't speak for anyone else. I'm not a Buddhist. I don't follow any particular paths like that. But what I found was when we do OTTR 0 and you have your eyes closed and you get yourself into a state, it was like in Scientology, I think we achieved a really beautiful state, but we always did it with a purpose in mind. Our purpose was to take our own mental stuff case and park it so that we could be good auditors and handle the PC in front of us and be fully there to handle what they brought up and be of service. Um, so what I've found is that we didn't do that for the sake of finding out what getting into that state could do as far as just all by itself. Where would that take us? We used it as a tool. Well, I'm exploring it the other way now, and I'm finding a great deal of expansion from it. That's just a personal viewpoint I wanted to point to you.
Well, thanks. Yes.
Thank you. Okay, we've got Tony Zile on board. Thank you very much.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So one of the things that I've noticed through my years is TR0 being there comfortably perceiving. And I went, that seems like a kind of meditation, just being there comfortably, just perceiving. And I was so encased, impacted, and gears grinding and all that, I actually would conk out doing TR0. So I found out, well, we have this going for a walk technique, which is basically walking and looking at things near and looking at things far. And I would, while walking on this familiar trail, through very difficult times in my life, I would be actually semi-conking out on the trail. But fortunately, I knew where the edge was. So it was this canyon down below. And my eyes would be closing. And then, it took me a good half hour to finally have this silent pop go out on, I call it a boom. And a silent one, very smoothly, I would go, and I would feel better. Well, one time it took 45 minutes and another time an hour and a half. That's how solid things were. But that was getting just simply looking at things around and walking. And Ron, I remember reading I forget where it was talking about, I think it was, someone could fill me in on this. In Africa, when a member of the tribe was going nuts, there'd be a person assigned to go with them to walk out straight out into the what do you call it, the savannah or whatever it is, until they would drop, and then they would be sane, and then it could go back. And I really had to use that because I was just knocking out trying to walk along, looking at things near and far, and the amount of gears grinding, Lord, I don't have to do that anymore, but I love going for a walk. So that was my experience with that, and this meditation definitely aligns.
Very good, Tony.
Thank you, Tony.
Welcome.
Okay, we've got one more person with a hand raised. We've got Lenny. Lenny, if you would unmute yourself.
Actually, we got Trey with his hand raised as well. There was a couple of points on this that I really took cognizance of, or cognizance of. But the first thing was ethics and proper conduct, and its relationship to karma. And we can see that everywhere. We have out ethics just all over the planet, but we got we have in ethics trying to do something about it. And those people with the out ethics are feeling their karma. I found that to be very interesting.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm reminded of the old joking line that says, my karma ran over my dogma, something like that. Anyway.
Yeah.
But the other thing is that you were talking about, and to expand on Nancy's point of view here, when it comes to TRs and just being there comfortably with another person, and you relate that, and I can't describe or express just how much the Pro TRs course has done for me. You just practice it every day without even really thinking. just being there comfortably listening to another person. You know how few people can really do that? And they can't be there comfortably without interrupting and yapping, and relate that to the Hubbard chart of human evaluations. Speech talks, speech listens. The two tie together, with that level of the tone scale, because people are down in the fear band, can't listen. They just have to keep saying something. And it drives me nuts, but I'm learning to forgive.
Yay.
Be there comfortably and confront. Yeah.
Yeah, be there comfortably. That's what I got.
Back
Thank you,
to tier
Lenny.
0. Thanks, Lenny. Yes, Trey does have his hand up. Trey, thank you.
Sure. Well,
Remember
I
to.
just wanted to say what I loved about this presentation and in relating Buddhism to Scientology. It kind of rehabbed me on all my studies in college where I studied different religions and comparative religions and Eastern religions. And that's what set me up to understand Scientology. But the main thing right now is that I think we all feel like we're part of a group of Scientologists, wherever they may be. There are a bunch of them around the world. But when you say people who are seeking ethical existence and spiritual development, then it broadens it out so much. You feel like you're a part of a huge movement on this planet encompassing literally billions of people, and that there's no real distinction. Well, I mean, there's a lot of distinction, but I mean, there's no real barriers between what we believe at the highest levels and what many, many other religions believe at the highest levels. So it just really is a very comforting feeling to feel like, you've got it eliminates the idea of a dangerous environment. It counteracts the idea of planet Earth as being purely and only a hellhole, because there's many, many people, billions of people who are seeking enlightenment and spiritual development, and this kind of puts that together. It was very raised my havingness on all dynamics. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, a brotherhood.
Beautiful.
Mhm.
Remind you real quickly about the next OTA event with Trey Lots, OTs and Society, on Saturday, May 23rd, 2026 at 11 o'clock Pacific time. Again, here's our contact information. If you have input, some people mentioned pictures, files, things like that today that they'd like to contribute. indiebridge.org is our website. You can email info@indiebridge.org and send us things. And you can find us at IndieBridge on Facebook. If you'd like to join our thriving little community of very theta Scientology practitioners, if you need auditing, if you need training, if you need help with a problem, we're there for you, and we can refer you to the right people. Yeah, this is us. Thank you so much for being here. That's it for today.
Bye.
Great work, Mary.
Oopsie.
Bye, Lauren.
Bye.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Yes, I'm going to shut her down here as soon as I find my recording button.
Thank you.
I'm going to have to edit this one. Yes, thank you for being here. Really, really appreciate everyone who's here today. I'm very tickled.
That Swedish flag on your picture, Mary?
Swedish flag on my picture?
Look at that. There's a Swedish flag on that boat.
Oh, there might very well be. That's the Göteborg. It's from Sweden. It's an 18th century uh, Swedish East India merchant vessel. I'm writing a play about something that happened with the French East India Company, and I'll tell you the truth. It's like if you're a female person and put your image online, you will get predators and you'll get creepy people. I just said no.
Okay.
I just said no. I'm putting a ship. I'm going out into forever as a human. So as a Thetan. So that's why I put that there. But is it? I do believe that is the
Oh, it is
Göteborg.
the Swedish flag. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Göteborg is docked in. I can't remember. I think it's actually in Gothenburg. Yes, Sweden. It's docked
Gothenburg.
right now. Gothenburg. Well, I don't know how it's pronounced. I'm trying my best with the Swedish, Jerry.
That's all
And
right.
but yeah, it's docked right now. It is about 20 years old. It's traveled to China and back. It was a
Wow.
re it was a ship that was built based on old plans, and they crew it. And a few years ago, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, they went to China and back because that used to be the trade route for the East India Company.
Wow,
And I
how
thought
cool. What a cool
it,
idea.
it, it is cool. It's fascinating, but you can take tours if you're ever down there. You can take tours of the ship,
Yeah,
and they
my
have
mom lives
events.
very close. I'll check it out.
Yeah, I've wanted to travel there so I can get firsthand knowledge about the ship so I can write about life aboard the ship better. So, yeah, but yeah, it's my a strong desire to go see that. Okay, well, folks,
Cool.
I am going. Oh, I'm sorry, did someone say something?
No, no, I just said cool.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Rich. Thanks, Mary.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you again, everybody, for being
Bye
here.
bye.
And I'm going to figure out how I close out now. All right. All right. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. Please keep in touch, and we'll talk to you soon.